this or whatnot, or you would do it, or that's all a part of negotiation. But you know, I'm throwing as a homeowner, people love, honestly, I'm throwing you what's wrong with my house already.
So then, there's one for buyers.
Correct.
And then there'll be one for sellers.
Correct. Sellers / listing agents.
Right, and then listing agents.
Well, the agents in general, we probably want to tag agents in general and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, we know. Okay, so if you deal, regardless of, you got to have an agent that understands the process.
Correct.
And then you got to, if you're a buyer, that's very important.
Correct.
If you're a seller, the best thing to do is get somebody to come out there and do a thorough inspection report. Then that'll be a benefit. That'll be a benefit to the seller, because then now you have this report.
Correct.
Which has all the details, like in terms of what needs issued, what needs to be repaired.
Correct. Correct.
So that'll be the seller side.
Correct.
Okay.
They can have that report available to anybody who want to come and take a look at the property.
Right. And then the seller could, seller could say, okay, well, I'm going to sell this house for $300,000, but I'll give you credit towards repairs of $5,000 or whatever the case is. Or the seller could choose to fix them himself.
Correct. Correct. But
and get a higher price.
Exactly. So so it's handled from both ways. On the other end, if the buyer said they're going to do it or whatnot, then of course the buyer can reach back out to the people and say, okay, I need this consultant. You don't want to roll it up, then you come back here and now you're paying me to do the draws and to walk you through it, playing project manager, or they got to call us back for the contractors,
right?
And whatnot. Another person we need to attach to the banks, like what Sam is doing now, going to the bank saying, let us do the same thing we're doing for a listing appointment we're doing for the banks as well. All your forecourts, let us go in and do a pre-read write-up for you whatnot, so you can be able to put out there with your listing agent now, your foreclosed and your real property, what's wrong with it.
But well, that's where they're doing the BPO, but they only pay like, this is you're talking about more of a depth detail report.
BPO is just giving a buyer a broker's price opinion on what the house will sell for. It's not telling what repairs are needed.
Right.
I mean, if it do, it's
nominal.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like the window's broken.
Exactly. But given a thorough inspection with bank, this is how much money you got to put in this house to make it saleable in half from the least amount of money you got to put in it, by a licensed HUD inspector and whatnot. That's how Sam got in with Bank of America. Like I said, they gave him a return with almost 2,000 homes and him to start doing that.
Whoa. Because
they want to come help him out on.
And that actually, that brings up a good point, because that helps the banks, because a lot of these banks, if they're in a very bad condition, then the appraiser won't even necessarily do the right appraisal, and then you can't even get the loan if it's if it's in a bad condition.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. So there's someone sitting out there. The banks, all the banks want to know, how can I get rid of my house quick, as soon as possible.
Right.
Pay the $350 up front and whatnot, and you know what's wrong with your property already and whatnot. So when the people come out and say, yeah, I'm gonna do it as is, maybe I allocate this amount of money, or at least buyers beware. This is what's going on with the property and whatnot.
Right.
So outside this realm or whatever, something come in now after you don't put a contract in, the HUD and consultant already told us what's wrong with it. So anybody could have vandalized. We're not responsible for anything beyond this point. We cutting our line off. So it's really giving them legal standards, if you would. So we want to appeal to them too, because like I said, a lot of them also now are doing rent with the option buy. So the bank is getting into the rental part. So again, this is telling that bank, you want to rent this property out, bring it up to code.
Right, bring it up to code. Right, that's bring it up to code.
So that's why we say we're addressing the banks as well, and it further put our foothold in the asset management side too. Though.
Yeah, because if it's not up to code, then the bank may not make the loan, and probably can't get appraised and all that stuff.
Correct.
So we'll make separate videos. So we'll do. You're not recording this, are you? Oh, you are? Oh, okay. That's fine. We could all delete it. Yeah. But all right, so that's cool. So we'll do one for buyers specifically. Like, here's the benefits. Like, for example, that guy Dion buying that house, right? So he called the consultant out there. They went through it really carefully, and they spent like 3 hours. And then he created a report. He had already put the contract on the house, but the loan officer said, well, you cannot move forward until you get this report back.
Correct.
And so then that's where
the consultant comes into play.
Yeah. But at that time, if the house was really damaged and had a lot of issues, Dion could have walked away from the house. I don't want the house anymore.
Correct.
But he would still pay that fee.
Correct. Correct.
But then that fee is a lot better than getting into a situation
that you can't get out of.
That you can't get out.
It's over your head, moreover, because again, from a layman's standpoint, you walk into a house and you start looking around. okay, yeah, paint, do a little bit of paint, doing this, doing that, and whatnot. But once you break it down from the inspector standpoint, where I'm going under that rug, I'm checking the joints, I'm checking different things that you might not pay attention to from the general perspective. Someone might say $5,000, where I come in and say it's $25,000. Your loan cap might only be for, say, $10,000. So again, now you don't spend $350 or whatnot, but you still can't afford the house anyhow. Or you can spend the $350 whatever, and you have an idea whether I can move forward or not. Or say, do I want to tackle all this? So I can start making my budget out before I even put an offer on the house.
Then it goes back down to the buyer. How bad does he want this house? How bad does he want it?
Correct.
So if we say, look, this is going to be 30, 40, 50,000.
Correct.
It's got termite damage. It's got
Correct.
crawl space issues.
Correct.
The roof is falling.
Correct.
Then if the guy says, look, I really want this house, and the lender and the loan officer is willing to put all that money into it,
Correct.
and he can get the loan,
Correct.
then cool.
If you qualify for it, you get anything you want in the house.
Right. If you qualify, you
At
get
the
the
end of
loan.
the day. So again, going even further back, backing up on that a little bit, okay, now everybody talking about a dream home. So here you can have your dream home, you can have a say-so, as long as you qualify for the money-wise and whatnot, why not lump it in? You want granite countertop, a new addition or whatnot, all that can be added in at this point in time.
So then we could also talk about the loan qualification process. So that guy was, 640 is the credit score, and then 3.5% down. And then you can get seller help
Correct.
up to 6%, but in our area, that's changing because the market's shifted. So most sellers are like, I'll give you 2%.
Right.
So,
Correct.
but yeah, so okay, so this could be 3 separate. It could be one here, so it could be 1, 2, 3 separate videos. So so we'll run through the buyer side. So let's just say from the buyer side, let's talk about that.
Okay.
So I come in the house, I want to buy the house. So I look at the house, I found the house, I like it, I like the location.
Correct.
So now what I do is I hire a consultant.
Correct.
Mr. Johnny Baker, I'd like to hire you. Can you please come out, analyze the property, and tell me, from your professional opinion, what is wrong with the property?
Okay.
Then you come out, and you do your analysis, and then you may or may not bring a contractor with you.
Correct.
Okay? But in this case, we'll say you will.
Okay.
Bring a contractor.
It's probably better to have as many people on site as possible. You have your contractor on site, a company, consultant or whatnot, then the contractor get to see what the consultant see or whatnot, so they can give you a true report once they send the report in, because again, everybody's on a time constraint or whatnot.
Right.
So if we all, the homeowner, the contractor, and the consultant see the same thing at the same time, whatnot, then we all put our reports in time together, whatever, it can move the process a lot faster. A lot faster.
Yeah, because I've been called out a couple of times to do estimates.
Correct.
But I may not get back to them for 3 days because
Correct.
I'm just so busy doing other things.
Correct.
Then they're calling me like, Sid, where's the estimate? I can't move forward until you give me an estimate.
Correct. Correct.
And so yeah, no, that's true. Time constraint is a big thing because you never know when the buyer has to be out of their, if they live in an apartment, it's got to be moved, whatever their situation is. So yeah, the time is very important.
And you have to know too that the contract and the HUD consultant numbers and stuff have to mesh at the end of the day. So that's another reason why you want to have everybody there. So the homeowner, again, from a HUD inspector standpoint, my role is to make sure that the house is habitable and safe at the end of the day. From the homeowner's perspective, whatever, yeah, he wants the safe and habitable, but he also might want his beautification, his FHA, bringing up the code, paint and beautification, my castle, if you would, or whatnot. Then the contractor job there is to make sure all that vision of the homeowner and what HUD says will happen all come into play under that homeowner's budget.
Right.
And that's why you have all three of them together.
And the timeline.
And the timeline. So if you mention all those three at the same time or whatnot, it's not hearsay, she say, it's like all us here saying the same thing. So we understand what has to be done, we know what the homeowner wants, we know it has to be done, now let's put all those together, whatever, so then we can get the report back over to the lender, and in turn the appraiser can come out, and the appraiser come out and take my report, look it over, now we're going into underwriting. Now, typically you're saying that, just like you made the point earlier about, it might take you a week or so to get a report back over to, an estimate back over to the homeowner and whatnot. That homeowner have a lot of issues on time. So now with all that stuff together, whatever, I can, as a consultant, say, okay, now if you want this job as the contractor, whatever, I need your input or whatever, because I have all this put on. So now the homeowner might not know everything, but he have me at his back end to make sure you are doing what you're supposed to do. So we can make sure we get everything moving along a little bit faster.
Right. So like this is like, you know, like they were saying, the guardian angel.
Correct.
Right. How you spell guardian? This on tape. The guardian angel. Right. This, I mean, so the 350. It's like insurance. You gotta. It's like, why do you pay your car insurance?
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
you never know what's going to happen.
Correct.
All right. No, that's true. That's because these buyers, you just don't know what their situation is in terms of where they're moving from or
Right.
what they're doing. I got a call this morning from a lady in California. She's moving this way,
Okay.
and she's like, "I need a house by next week. I'll be down there Friday."
Yeah,
I said, "Okay, that's impossible." You know what I mean?
Correct.
And then I said, "Well, what is your budget?" She said, $1,000. I want to be in Bethesda. I said, "Whoa." I said, "You want a Class A neighborhood and you want to pay $1,000." I said, "That price may bring you down to a D neighborhood." Well, I don't want D. I want Chevy Chase, Bethesda, Silver Spring. I said, "Look, I'm sorry, I can't help you."
Correct.
You know, so you just don't know what the buyer situation is
Correct.
and what they're looking for. So it's just all about education.
All about education.
All about, you know, teaching them and giving them the proper education so they can have the right power to make the right decisions.
Correct. And that's the biggest benefit of having a consultant, because they're there to hold your hand, to educate you, to inform you, to be your best friend through this whole process. Because a lot of people don't want to get into 203k renovation. It's a stressful event. Don't care how minor it may be to how major it may be or whatnot. People, like, you know, they see TV, they see, it's always something popping up. You never know what's going to go on and whatnot. So you need somebody to have your eyes and ears and have an understanding on what should happen to be able to break this whole process down to you. Now, on the other end, you might have contractors that's used to getting in with their hands that they can't communicate to the homeowner or the lender or whatnot. So that consultant come in again and say, I'm the eyes and ears for you or whatever, so I'll be able to break this down for you because the contractor don't have time to talk.
Right, because then you got the bank involved.
Correct.
Okay, then you got the homeowner involved. Then you got the contractor involved.
Correct.
You know, so everybody's got to be able to communicate so the money could flow properly as the draws and the schedules and inspections and timelines and all that stuff, and according to the scope of work, all that's got to be. And then this guy here will make sure all of these things happen on a timely manner.
The consultant plays the facilitator,
Right.
as if a project manager, more or less.
Right. Okay. Because the homeowner just doesn't know.
Correct.
And so you're there to basically protect the homeowner.
Correct. At the end of the day, I work for the homeowner.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that makes sense. Now, what happens if the contractor that is selected starts the job, and in the middle of the job, you know, we want to get rid of the contractor?
Again, the homeowner hired that contractor, the homeowner had the right to fire that contractor.
Okay.
And so what we do at that point is say, okay, we send a request to or change order back to the lender saying that we no longer need the service of this contractor. My job again as a consultant will come out and say what all the work has been done to make sure the contractor that was on the job get paid for what he has done.
Okay.
There's not necessarily a reason behind the contractor being fired other than the fact it could be a numerous amount of reasons. But at the end of the day, if the homeowner say I don't want the contractor anymore, as a consultant, my job is to make sure we write up, give them what's owed to them, and then interview and help them bring in another contractor.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because that happens. So, a lot of times contractors will take on 3, 4, 5 jobs.
Correct.
And then they'll get behind, and the homeowners got deadlines to move in.
Correct.
And then, you know, or a lot of times the homeowners will say, hey, I want the sink here, and then 2 weeks later, no, I want the sink here.
Correct.
So all those things could have a delay in the overall project.
And that goes back to the consultant. Their job is to make sure they manage their job to get it. Because again, when I hand out a report, I'm saying you only got a month to do this property.
Right.
Period. The full thing. It's my job to say, homeowner, honest, just what we agreed upon in the beginning and whatnot, you cannot hamper the contract from doing their job. So therefore, just what we said you agreed upon, if you want to make changes later on, under a time constraint, your budget won't allow certain things, this is what has to happen. This is what has to happen. Because from a consultant standpoint, I can contact your lender saying you're making this job difficult, not the contractor. So your loan will be in jeopardy of not being able to go through its full tuition.
So you can keep them in check.
So they keep in check, because again, you got to understand,
Yeah.
homeowners oftentimes does not know the whole process as well. But they got HGTV, they got all these other things, these little fabulous shows you got going on. They got high expectations, but don't understand the process.
Right.
So again, a consultant come in and say, okay, keep them at bay to make sure they understand the process and within a budget and then within a certain time frame.
Right, right. Now, the homeowner, the person at the bank, the homeowner could also communicate directly with the person at the bank
if they're alone.
about the consultant as well as about the contract.
The consultant can be fired just as well as the contractor
Okay.
at the end of the day. Again, because it's the homeowner's loan.
Right.
Keep in mind, if you fire a contractor, fire a consultant, and whatnot, it might delay the process of you moving into the house.
Right.
You know, because if most homeowners don't understand the thing, it's much easier to try to work with a contractor or something you already have on bay, because no homeowner, no contractor, nor a consultant want to come in and try to finish a job someone else started.
Exactly.
You never know where they left off, what could have went wrong and whatnot. So it's to everybody's best interest to try to work together, and that's why it's so important to have a consultant there, because again, we're going to advise you, and we know the market at polls when contractors and everybody come to play with them. We can determine, say, okay, this might be a good fit for you. You know, this might be we can control them, we can't control them, whatnot. So there's a lot of different things buying into the whole process and whatnot. The consultant job is to make sure that this move as smooth as possible.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so we're gonna let's talk about the buyer side.